Okay, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to the family call, the Fearless Freedom family call. Before we get started, we have some new coaches on here tonight. So if you're new, can you raise your hand? Yay. Does anybody want to, how about PS coaches, you introduce your new coaches real quick? Whoever's new on here.
I can, but Ben's blending a shake in the background. Can you hear me? Or
Yeah.
all you hear is blender. So Anne is here. She's OHCASC on my screen, but she has been a challenger for Anne, like a year, right? And has decided to join our community and kind of share her story with us. And I'm encouraging her to share her story with everybody because she went from hardly even eating a vegetable to running in the last year, and it's been amazing to watch. So
That's awesome.
It's been so awesome. And don't let anybody ever tell you that they have too hard of a schedule, because this girl, she was working nights when we started challenging together, and she started new jobs and all that kind of stuff. So don't let anybody tell you that they don't have time to do it.
That's awesome. Well, welcome. Super excited to have you here. Anybody? You said, Michelle, you've got some, right? Andrea?
Yeah, Andrea. So some of you have seen her on the team page. She's never officially been to a team call before. But I have known Andrea since I first moved to Front Royal. She's a mom of 9. So we've got another mom of 9 on the team. Yay. And a really good friend, sweet spirit. Something I didn't know about Andrea is that she used to run a successful Mary Kay business. I had no clue. So when she said she wanted to join the team, I thought she was another, I don't know, discount coach, and maybe she's another Kelly, so.
Minus the Pekin kids.
Another Angie, another Melissa, all these coaches who come on and you don't know what to expect. So anyway, I need to put my foot in my mouth now. Andrea, so excited you're here.
Yay. And I know this is something I feel like we haven't always been good at, introducing new people. So something we're trying to get better at as our team is growing. And we've had a lot of growth, which has been really awesome. I see other coaches on here that are newer, like Danielle is newer. And I see Allison, is that maybe Allison Parker? She's newer. And it's always awesome to have you guys here. So thanks for being here tonight. So what I'm going to do tonight, I was processing this whole plan of what to share tonight about the funnel. And to help me kind of stay on task and to use a visual, my husband actually made a graphic for us, but I don't know how to do PowerPoint. So I'm just going to share the screen to my Google Doc and kind of use it like it's a chalkboard and go old school teacher on you guys. But if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat, and when I'm done, we'll do question and answer. But the main thing I want to talk to you guys tonight about is the importance of the funnel. I just finished reading the book, Get Over Yourself, which is good. I mean, there's definitely some things in it. I feel like there's some language in it that you could just take a marker and kind of black out. But her point is about how to increase your ability to grow a business. What I love about it, though, is it kind of helps you think outside the box. And it got me thinking more and more about funnels, like how a lot of times in this business, whether you're a brand new coach or you've been around for a while, you hear all the time, you got to keep your funnel full. And a lot of times we'll think we have our funnel full, but it actually gets clogged. And that's usually the months that we're scrambling around wondering why no one's answering, or why we don't know who to ask or whatever. So I started thinking about it, because for me, my funnel got clogged last month, big time, for the first time in 3 years. So I did a lot of self-evaluating. And as I was working on this, what I realized is what Michelle talked about on the weekly forecast today was about relationships. And that's what the funnel is. It's basically how to start relationships. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen See if I can do that.
Well, you're doing that. Guys, just in case you haven't had a chance to look at the weekly forecast yet, Kelly and I are going to start doing live videos and using them as a quick training. So I did a quick training on how to make that connection based on a book called The Like Switch, an FBI undercover cop. So
Yes.
Pay attention to that with the weekly
Yes.
forecast from now on.
Yes. So can y'all see the notes? Okay, this is my version of a PowerPoint. One of these days I'll show up with a PowerPoint. You're going to be like, holy cow, she's completely gone tech. So anyway, my daughter could do it for me. I just don't know how. So talking to people, taking people from cold market customers, coaches, and supporters through building authentic relationships. So, and there's probably going to be typos in here, even though I've read it like 10 times. The things that a funnel is not, it's not a race. It's not rocket scientists. We don't need to overcomplicate it. So there's three main things that we need to think about when we're talking to people. It's about courage. Like, if you want to know, if you're struggling with reaching out to new people, a lot of times it's because you've forgotten what your life was like before you said yes. And even if you're brand new, it might be because you're not sure where this is going. You know, sometimes we overthink it. And what we need to do is really think about where we are now, where we were before, and how this opportunity has blessed us, and let that fuel us to just start conversations with people so that we can see if this is something that could help them. The second thing is conversation and people skills. We need to learn how to listening to hear and help people, not to respond. And I say this because I'm calling a lot of what I'm sharing with you guys tonight is mistakes I've made. You know, I used to think I had to have every objection overcoming statement memorized so I knew how to like spit them out. But that's not listening to hear. That's listening to respond. Like, we need to have a posture of service to add value and build relationships. So if someone needs to tell you no for 6 months, you're not waiting on that one person putting pressure on them. That's using someone. If we have a full funnel, you have patience to meet people where they're at, and you don't struggle as much with the listening part because you have that peace of mind, like you're not in a hurry. Sometimes in this business, like, I think that there's this pressure people can feel, and a lot of times that happens because you don't have enough people in your funnel, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But it's really about listening, like Michelle said, like, and I can't remember the three things, Michelle, sorry, but I know it's like proximity, intensity, and distance, something like that. Closeness, proximity, intensity. Anyway, you get the point. You want to be showing up in their lives. You want to be consistently showing up, and you want to be doing it in a way that authentically builds their relationship and shows that you care. So the last one is consistency, daily committing to this process of the funnel. You can't, it's like that analogy of pumping the well. You know, old-fashioned well, if you pump it a little bit every day, the water will continue to flow. Otherwise, you have to go pump that thing like crazy. Or like Maxwell would say, you don't go cut a tree down by waiting till the last day before the end of the month, and you go swing your axe at it for 5 hours and exhaust yourself. If you go outside and you chop at it 5 times every day, eventually the tree will fall. Daily committing to the process with heart, hustle, and humility will not always get it right. We're going to mess up. But if we're sharing, and this is what Tracy Morrow said, if you are sincere in sharing because you care, if your heart's in the right place and you're patient with the other person, you're going to find success by first helping them find success. Like, that's really how we kind of stumble upon success in our business, is by helping others find success first. So how does this work? What we're going to do is I'm going to break down how to start the process, where and how to keep your focus, a timeline on how to follow up with people to keep the funnel flowing, and what mistakes to avoid along the way. So this is my pretty graphic I was so excited about. This is about as, it should be in a museum of art. So we're going to start at the top. So the first thing you want to be doing is constantly meeting new people. Now, a lot of times we do this through social media. Something to think about is this. If you were to go to, if you were at school one day, or you were to like go into a school, or I guess we're not in school anymore. If you were to go to like a mom's group, a Bible study, and you walk in a cafeteria, there's a bunch of tables set up, and you see your friend sitting at a table with a group of people, you would go sit with your friend and start talking to those other people and just strike conversation. That's how we start with new ads. But we do it through Facebook. We become friends with friends we have in common, and we just get to know them. It's nothing icky. It's not like we're targeting people. So new ads or new people through friend requests on Facebook, people that you meet out and about, like you could meet them through, maybe like my daughter just connected with some new girls at school, and I met their moms. So I added them to my like list. So if you like do retreats like Michelle did, you get to meet people. Anytime you meet somebody, if you're homeschooling like Sarah and you go to a co-op, you're meeting other moms. Anytime you make a connection with somebody, go back and friend them on Facebook if they're on Facebook, and just start to show up in their lives. That's how you connect with a new ad. It's just showing up. It's just liking some of their posts, commenting on them in ways that show that you have a genuine interest. I'm totally guilty of the awesome, good job, that's cute. And I'm trying to be more intentional about like actually posting comments that are thoughtful, and we need to be adding new people to our funnel, because in this business, your first contacts are your warm market, but eventually your warm market will dry out. And so the purpose of new ads is that those new ads slowly convert to be warm so that you don't run out of people to talk to. So yeah.
One thing that I've started doing is when I meet people in person, I actually pull their Facebook page up while they're standing next to me.
Oh, cool.
And I'll go, "Is this you?" And I friend them right there while they're standing there. So I know they've seen it.
Yeah.
So that they're like, "Oh, there you are. Friend me."
That's awesome. No, that's brilliant. No, but that's brilliant. So you don't forget. Like, it's so good that, because I would.
And like, I'm already saying, I'm going to check you out on this world as well as in real life. And so you can check me out. And I've had people start conversations about fitness because of that, because they see the fitness posts right then.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So that's a great idea. So definitely, like, if you meet somebody, oh, are you on Facebook? Let's, connect. So those new ads are going to move to new conversations. Who are your new conversations? People that you've already added and you've been maybe not messaging, but you've been commenting on their Facebook post, and then you decide to send them a private message. Or maybe you decide if it's someone local, like I had a coffee with a friend last week that I'd been connecting with kind of off and on, but I didn't know her very well, so we went and had coffee. At this phase, you want to just start building that relationship more on a one-on-one. It's no longer just on Facebook's like pages. It could be on the phone. It could be making an effort when you're at whatever, if you have a weekly thing that you go to, that you're talking to that person and starting to get to know them beyond just the chit chat. Those new conversations slowly will, phase into warm connections and what Michelle called today focus forming or forming. And some will come sooner than others. It'll depend on things you have in common, or that person's like whatever they have going on in their life. This is really about building trust. So warm connections and forming, those are new connections that are building, and they start to go into deeper conversations. How do you connect? You ask questions and you add value. You listen to find a need to serve. So you're going to ask questions, which we call forming, about family, occupation, recreation, and discover their needs. And another acronym is SIGN. There's strengths, interests, goals, and needs. Like, you want to be asking deeper questions, like, what do they do? What do they like? If they start sharing with you about fitness, take that as an opportunity, or nutrition, to ask them, how's that affecting you from day to day? These are the ones that you want to schedule follow-ups with. These are the conversations you want to keep the process going. Showing up on Facebook still to add value so you can see what's going on, because that will help you continue to build that conversation. And I found that having a few key questions to ask is really helpful. I don't use the scripts that we have cut and paste, but I do use them in a sense that I've highlighted 4 or 5 questions. Like, one of my favorite ones is, how does that affect you from day to day? Can you tell me more about that? Like, I know that sounds silly, but if it's not part of my vocabulary to go to those questions, those simple questions, you sound really serious about this. It opens it up for them to share more as you're connecting and forming on a deeper level. When you get to a place where their need, that's when you invite them to a challenge. So who are we inviting to a challenge? Someone we've taken the time to get to know. The WIIFT comes from get over yourself. What's in it for them? When you know what's in it for them, you can craft an invitation to them that meets their need. Sending a simple invite in a private message. In this process, you continue to ask questions. Like you invite them simply like, hey, I've loved getting to know you and hearing about like this woman I'm talking to that I posted about her health needs. Like I've enjoyed getting to know you and talking to you about, you know, your job and your work and your kids. I'm not sure if you'd be interested in this or not, but I'm running a health and fitness accountability group in April. Have you ever considered jumping in one of my groups with me? And she said, well, I don't know what that is. Can you tell me more about it? Sure. How about you share with me, you know, a little bit of what you do for health and fitness. And then she shared with me the whole thing about her health condition. And I'm like, okay, I know more now. So now I can go back and ask more questions. But I'm now in a mode of we're talking about change and how I can serve her. And so you want to send a simple invite. You want to ask questions, see their need, and set them up for success. The scripts are great for guiding. I don't, you know, but also the team page is a great resource. You guys have been doing an amazing job of doing that, like reaching out. I have this person, I was thinking this program. What do you guys think? Don't be afraid to ask more questions. I really feel like that's something that we feel like, oh, I know now what they need. And we stop asking. The more in depth that you can get and the more you can get to know the person, the more it can set them up to have success because they've already started to do the work and uncover what they need. So that's inviting them to a challenge. Inviting them to a coach, there's two different ways. Who is this? A challenger who's showing enthusiasm and participation, and you see a way that coaching can fill a need for them, what's in it for them. Or an invite, if you have an invite process going and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I know they just are doing a challenge, but I really think coaching could help them, then lead with a business opportunity. That's not my first go-to, but sometimes that's, you know, when Jill signed up, she was interested in the business and in her fitness. So, you know, when you invite to coach, how do you connect? You affirm on their strengths and gifts and why you want to invite them to work with you. And then ask. So an example I put is, I love how you ... or I've noticed that have you ever considered doing what I do? And with this step, you use a third-party tool. So like we have the short video that Michelle put together. We have that shorter version of the webinar that they did a few weeks ago. There's a 7-minute coach video that Carl Deichler did. Sending them a third-party tool to present the whole opportunity and then setting a follow-up so you can ask more questions and get to know them. And then finally, if they just say no, if they're not interested, you can ask them for referrals. And I just put here, you know, an example of how to follow up is, you know, I see this isn't a good fit for you or maybe not the right time. No, I'm here to support you where you are and when you feel ready. If you don't mind me asking, like if you can think of anyone who might benefit from this kind of community, I would be so thankful to have the opportunity to chat with them and help them. You never know. I mean, I've asked a few people who are big into CrossFit and they're not interested in our groups, and they've always said, oh, sure, I would be happy to, you know. And so asking for referrals is a way to feed people back into your funnel and meet new people. And never dismiss that person that says no, because most of the time it means not now. But at that point, I would kind of put them back into the warm connections forming and just keep checking in on them and see where it goes. So if you see as if the funnel flows down, as your new conversations are moving to warm connecting and inviting, you're still adding people and starting new conversations. That's why on the bat, every day, these are the things we check off. Like when we have inviting, it's inviting to be your friend, inviting to a conversation, inviting to a challenge. Those are all important parts of the funnel. A lot of times what happens is we make our invite list, we focus on that invite list goes cold, and all of a sudden we have nobody left that we've been talking to. Or we get so stuck in just adding people and getting stuck in Facebook land on people's pages, we're not messaging people and building a relationship. So it's important that we have each step of the process. So like I said, Get Over Your Damn Self is a good book that takes you through the process. I kind of want to talk about where to focus to meet your goals. Like if you're a brand new coach, the first place you focus on when you're building your list is your warm market. But as you're focusing on your warm market and you can talk to your PS coach about like who you want to invite, you want to be really focusing on new ads and starting new conversations. That's like the bulk of your time is, unless you've got like this expansive warm market, then you can kind of balance it out. But you need to set your goals with your coach. Like if your goal is to cover your Shakeology, or you want to hit Emerald, or you want to, you know, whatever your goals are. And then your coach, your sponsor coach can help you say, well, let's go for 2 a day, 2 new ads, 2 new like giving you kind of a number. A hobby coach is the same as above, but you want to increase it a little higher. And then a business builder, it's a little higher. So you get to set how many people you feel like you want to reach out to a day. Or you could have a goal for the week. For some people, they'll do it, in chunks. But for basic guidelines, for those of you that are building the business, so if you want to hit Success Club 5, you need to send out 30 invites to a challenge. SC10 is 60 invites. And to add 1 to 2 coaches, you really should be inviting 2 to 3 people a week or 8 to 12 a month. As a new coach, that might seem overwhelming, but if you're consistently building your funnel, it doesn't take long to fill it up and build those conversations, because while you're doing this, if you're authentically sharing your story on Facebook, that does a lot of work for you. Like Angie just said, she's friended that person and then they immediately saw her fitness posts. Or if you share your personal development posts or your meal planning posts or your family posts, that's why Facebook is such an important part of this, because it's showing the way and giving people that example and getting it's your marketing, So some follow-up kind of rules. Number 1, set a time that you'll work and a time you're unplugged. You don't need to be answering messages and adding people all day long. You need to have an office hour or 2, depending on your goals. Because honestly, people, and I love that someone shared this, I've been shared so many times, you don't want to make it look that the only way to be successful, and I'm guilty of this. If I don't feel well and I'm laying down, I'll kind of play around on my phone and be on my phone too much. And you can tell because I pop up all over the place. But you need to unplug. So you need to have I'm going to answer messages in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, and get over your damn self. She said she had 3 times a day scheduled to answer messages, and between that, she didn't do it. A new ad, you want to show up on Facebook once or twice a week. Like Michelle had talked about, you could have Tuesdays and Fridays are my days that I kind of go to my new ads. You can make an interest list, or you can keep them on a piece of paper and kind of go to their pages and show up. You can also click, and I think for so many people, you can put see first and they'll come up first in your feed, but there is a limited number of how many people you can do that for. For new conversations, if I follow up in a week, if they haven't responded, not right away, if it's just a, hey, how's it going? Or a happy birthday. If they respond every 2 to 3 or 4 days, just so I can keep the conversation from going cold. Forming, follow-up is needed to keep the conversation going, because at that point, if you start a new conversation, you're going back and forth. They're the ones that kind of slide into that warm market focus forming a little faster. And then invites, I follow up 24 to 48 hours. Those are my high priority messages, because I've done all the legwork with those potential customers, and I want to make sure that I'm kind of giving them the first response. If I invite them and they don't answer, 2 days I'll check in, 4 days, and then a week. And then beyond that, I just wait till the next month, But usually in my last message, I'll say something to an invite like, I just hope you know that if the answer is no, I'm totally not offended. I want to make sure I'm serving you where you're at. And a lot of times people will come back and be like, oh, no, I've just missed your message. Or sometimes they ignore you. But at least you kind of left it out there that they know that you're just keeping up because you care. For challengers and coaches, I try to answer them within 2 to 3 days. And for you guys, a lot of times if you'll ask questions, or if your coaches come to you, if it's a question that would benefit the whole team, direct them, say, that's a great question. Can you post it in the team page and I'll answer it there? But I also want to see what other people can say to add value. So that can kind of help, so you kind of know a guideline. The last 2 things, you need 2 things to help track your power hour. And I'm not going to go through the power hour. There's a whole video on that. We have a million tools on that. But keep it simple. You need a checklist. There's the one I use. There's the one Michelle uses that's simplified, which is good. I need to have it all in one place. And they're both really great checklists. She and I sat down at retreat weekend and kind of went through, and I like how hers is set up too. They're saved in the Team Fearless Family Google Drive under Power Hour checklists. But you need to have one so you see what you're doing. If you, Rebecca posted a video on that last week. If you don't check off every day what you're doing, it's really easy to think you're working when actually you're scrolling. Or it's really easy to think you've been adding people when really you've been talking to the same 15 people for a month and you haven't talked to anyone new. And that's why the other thing is you want to track your funnel. There's so many ways. There's the principal sheets that you can watch the video in the 12-day new coach training. There's Google Sheets that different coaches have. Like I know Rebecca has them, Michelle uses them, Angie has hers, Jill, they have different spreadsheets set up. I was doing them for a while, but now I'm doing Teamsy. I know there's a program called Streak. The key is start something. And I say start simple and use something for a couple months before you switch. But you just want to make sure you're tracking. You want to write down the new names so you know to be messaging them. You want to write down who you're inviting. And like I said, that video is in the video and all of our documents and how they work is in the 12-day new coach training, which is on the Simple Business Plan. A couple of mistakes to avoid. Comparing you to what others do. It's okay to learn from others, but the key is to keep it simple and keep talking to people. If you don't feel you're good at talking to people, then just work on that skill, but don't let your weakness become an excuse. Let it become a place to develop yourself. So, if you see somebody finding success faster, that like this has happened to me, there are coaches that signed up after me who are shot past me, and I could either compare myself to them or ask, what are you doing that's working? And see if I can learn. Like most of the time they were talking to more people than I was. Sometimes it was they discovered a really amazing training video that they shot my way that I could watch. It's good to ask questions like, ask like, what could I do differently? What could I do to improve? But don't constantly compare, because all that does, and Michelle and I talked about this morning, like I don't follow a lot of coaches, like top coaches and stuff, because when I'm tired, I get stuck in comparison, and that's not going to help me. I need to be myself. The key most of the time is I just need to talk to more people and take time to build more authentic relationships. And if I'm disciplined, which is my word for the year, it can be done. 2, getting stuck in recycling the same people over and over and over because you're afraid you're going to lose somebody. This has been a big one for me. Once you've added someone and you've messaged them with a new conversation, if they don't answer you, they'll come back around when you go back through your Facebook names again. So don't worry about hanging on to that conversation, because if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing on social media, your Facebook activity will draw them in. Waiting too long to invite. If you feel the urge to invite someone, and you need help bridging the conversation, ask in the team page, check the scripts for examples, and lead with what you know. But don't wait too long. I don't know how many times I could probably count like 10 to 15 people that I finally got around the nerve to invite, and either A, they started with another business opportunity, or B, they had a different coach because I just waited too long. It's kind of like feel the fear and do it anyway. So ask for help if you're like, I'm having trouble bridging this, and people can our whole team, we've got a lot of beautiful minds here that we can help each other out. Don't neglect tracking. Use your business as your business grows, be open to new ways to learn and organize things. And do it in a way that makes sense to you. It's another thing you don't want to compare. Like, so talk with your PS coach or reach out to Michelle and I. I've tried a lot of different things, she has too, to help you find what's going to help you focus your time. The most important tracking system is the one that's the most time efficient. You don't want to be spending a ton of time organizing your stuff, which I'm guilty of. Number 5, recreating the wheel. Like I've done this, and I have to be careful. Something wouldn't work for a month, and the next month I'd be like, I'm gonna try this, and I'm gonna try this, and I'm gonna try this. Constantly changing how I track. I would recreate a bat, and then I would use a new ad sheet, then I would make a spreadsheet, then I would try a Teamsy, and then I go back to a spreadsheet. One thing I've learned is by doing that, I was actually wasting time. Now, it is good to get something that works for you. Like the bat that Michelle came out with is perfect because it works with her brain. Does that make sense? So I'm not talking about that, but when you have something, like pick something we have, use it for 2 to 3 months before you change it. Because then you can really see what works and what doesn't. Like even when I talked to her about when I was doing my Google spreadsheet and then I'm doing Teamsy, like I'll share after I've used it for a few months how it's working. You know what I'm saying? Because I need to, and she's helped me learn that because I'm more of like a, hey, guess what I'm doing? And everybody follows me down the rabbit hole. But my point is I tried what I was doing for 2 to 3 months and I've increased my contacts. So I had to try something different. But don't constantly be doing that. try something for a while. If you print a bad off and there's too much information on any of the ones, get a Sharpie, black out what you don't use, and use what you do. That's the simplest way to edit. And then the last thing I really recommend something is organize your things, like whether it's in an Arc or Google or Teamsy, and keep it clean. Take 5 minutes each day to clean up your workspace so that when you sit down the next day to open your business, you know where you left off and you know where you're starting. You don't walk in with a hot mess of papers, which I was doing that for a while because I would I was working at my kitchen table. So that's the other kind of part of this, have a workspace. Because then I was packing up the kitchen table, taking it to my office, then it was coming upstairs in my bedroom, and it was all over the place. Like, take some time to kind of organize your stuff and think of where you left off. So the next day when you start, you're not wasting time trying to kind of get ready and get your brain in gear. So that is what I have. Oh, wow, there's a lot of chat. So why don't you guys unmute yourself and ask questions, because there's a lot of chat. Like, I can, it was pretty. I thought it was pretty. I will post this Google Doc in the team page, and I'll save it in our drive too. So that way when you have new coaches, you can share it with them. I think it's simplified enough that you could just use the picture. You wouldn't have to use the rest of it, that it kind of explains the process. But yes, I will put it in the drive. Do y'all have any questions?
I have a question. Well, he's going to kiss you all.
Okay.
I love how you said that, you finally kind of put some conversations through us, because I find myself recycling a lot, and then I get frustrated. So how long do you normally, I know it's per person kind of a deal, but how long do you normally, do you invite them maybe twice before you're like, okay, it's really not a good time for them?
Right.
Or do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I feel like, no, this really is good for you. Just listen.
So something I just started doing, I was doing that, is I have a couple different go for no sheets. And this was something that having a few that are dated for later months. So we're in April, I have my April list that I've made and I'm inviting for that group. Having a May and a June blank list and putting people on it, or even asking them, today I had 2 people that were like, I'm just not ready, things are crazy, blah blah blah, life and this and that, and I said, how about I get back to you in May or June? And they were like, oh, that would be great. So I just wrote next to their name, because I'm doing Teamsy, but it's not on the list. You could just write them on the June list. You could even have a piece of paper that said June and July, and just start, you know what I mean? So you just show up on their Facebook page. Make sure you're still showing up, but don't worry about it as much. I was doing the same thing. That's what happened January and February, where my funnel got clogged. I was recycling 60 people.
Mm-hmm. Does that work well for you, Angie, too, when you ask them, when I can ask again?
I have a couple people I asked for this month, and they said, no, not right now. And I said, how about I ask in May when things calm down a little bit? And they said, sure.
Yeah.
So now they're on my list of people to try to add value to their life. So don't just show up on their Facebook page, but send them an article about something you think might be interesting, or, be the go-giver, be the person who gives them whatever you think that they could use, so that you add value, so that they see something from you that they could get.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a focus forming person, having a focus. And I love that. The Go-Giver, if you haven't read it, is a really great parable on giving, not selling. I really enjoyed that book.
Yeah. And I think that there comes a point when you've invited people, consecutively month after month, and you just kind of know, what, this person really is not interested. There's a few people where I've just kind of removed from my list. I might put it, like Kelly said, on a separate one, maybe down the line, but they're not anybody I'm going to waste my time on. Because here's another thing I thought about, especially when you're adding new people. Look to see who your active Facebook users are as well. It doesn't mean neglect those who aren't, but those who are active on Facebook might also be an easier segue into a conversation. And so I've noticed that's one other thing I've done is I do try to form with people. I'll go to their page after a few times and I'm like, crap, I don't have anything to like or comment after a while. So I'll move them to another list where I might check them on occasion, but I try to stick with the people who are a little more active, and then hopefully those others will be attracted, like Kelly was saying. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, and there are people who just watch what you're doing, they'll eventually see.
Yeah. And, you know, something like Michelle was just saying, something that this might help is I still use Go for No, the sheet for my inviting. Like, I like to write the names down, and I have the sheet that I'm inviting, and I always have a blank sheet that says likes my posts. And if a person's liking my post or likes a transformation post or something, their names go there, because I feel like they're a little more following. Like she was just saying, like, if you notice they're showing up, those are the people you want to kind of build a little more relationship with sooner. But if you use the system of like AA, AB, AC, like going through your friends list, then if you drop a person for a few months because they're not ready, you're going to come back to them. So that's what I was saying. Don't worry about losing people. I used to worry about that, and I had like 100 pieces of paper piled up. And so, cause I didn't want to ever throw away a piece of paper. And then I realized when I talked to Nicole Grafton, a coach from Team Courage, last week, and asked her how she was doing with her funnel. And she's like, she's like, I just let them go. I'm like, oh, like, it's like, you can't just let them go. She's like, well, they'll come back. Like when you funnel people, they come back through. And I was like, oh, like that's when it hit me. Like, this is where I felt like, I think we get stuck because we don't, and that's part of wanting to serve. That's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? But there's a time where sometimes you let people go. It's a stupid saying, but if you let them go and it's meant to be, they'll come back. Sorry. It's like a Hallmark card. But it's true. If you're showing up on Facebook and doing what you're supposed to be doing, people have come back years later that, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And I listened to some coach, and she said after a couple times she'll send something that says, well, you know what? It looks like it's not a good time for you. I'm just going to stop and I'm going to move to somebody else. If you decide you want to, I'll be back to you in a couple months.
Yeah.
And I've never actually done that because I don't have enough people to do that. But I hear that they'll be like, oh, no, don't drop me. So.
Right. Or, yeah. Or just saying, like, but even just saying like that, but you know, maybe not saying like, I don't know. I know what you're saying, like, but even saying this might not be a good fit, or maybe it's not it sounds like it's not a good time. Like, it's almost like you're letting them off the hook, you know? Yeah. And then say like, you know, it sounds like it's not a good time. And I have a couple people that I'm talking to. So how about I get back? And it's hard. The pearl in me is like, that's so mean, but it's not, because honestly, they'll either move them to act if they're serious, or
it's clearing your funnel.
Yeah. And
you're not still dinking around with it.
It's creating that sense of urgency.
Yeah.
That is so important in sales.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing with the funnel. If you try to keep everybody in it, and that's the thing, you want to funnel people through, because it's a narrowing process intentionally. And that's why you never want to discount talking to someone, because you just never know people's story. And so if you are a new coach, like what I want to tell you that I wish I would have thought about is, think of where you were before this journey, and just talk to people like you're on a scavenger hunt, kind of in a sense of trying to find people's stories and see if you can be that piece that helps them, not in a bad way, but like in a positive. And if you find out it's not, it's okay, because it's not like, how can I sell to you this challenge pack? It's like, how can I help you find what I found, you know, which is why revisiting your why is important. And it's why personal development, like if you don't do it, you know, it's hard. Like, it's just going to be hard, because it's a sensitive thing we do, talking to people about this journey. Their no's are never just because of the cost. It's usually a fear like we all had. And so that's why with the funnel, if you're keeping it full, you actually don't put pressure on anyone anymore, because they don't earn a number for you. They really are a person, because you have enough people in there that you can treat them all like people, because it's not like you're depending on that one. How many of you ever invited 30 and then you highlighted 10 and you're like, 3 of you have to buy? Like, I mean, you know, saying, because you narrow it down. Okay, I've done that. Like, and I didn't mean to, but I like had my check marks, and then the last of the month, like February, they're like, I'm going to wait. And they ordered the 1st of March. And I was like, oh, because I stopped filling my funnel and I was counting my chickens before they hatched. So anyway, yeah, I like that.
In the end, it is really all about, I mean, it's about, but like you said, it's about building the relationships, the proximity, duration, and intensity. And like
duration, that was the one I forgot.
Yeah, go back and watch that video, because I struck me because I was doing a talk on prayer, and about how if we want to grow a relationship with God, then we need these things. And I had this aha moment in the middle of my talk, and I had to like hear my mind back to what I was thinking. I was like, oh my gosh, those 3 things. And you think about challengers and Facebook work as well. And especially, I'm really, Kelly and I met this morning. She's like, I'm glad you're doing that this morning because it works right with the talk and in the funnel. And I love your graphic. I think that was really good.
My husband totally did that, by the way.
I'll tell you though,
engineered it.
I envisioned it and then he did it. Go ahead, Rebecca. Sorry.
no, I'll tell you, but I mean, we're professionals. We all only have so many hours in our day. There's our time is split between a lot of different things. We have our family. Some of us have other jobs. I mean, we all have, some of us volunteer and have our faith stuff. It's like there's only so many hours a day that we have to put into this business. And when you treat it like you're a professional, you don't have a problem saying, this may not be the right time for you. I'm more than happy to follow up with you next month.
Yep.
After you've talked to them, give them a chance, give yourself a chance to talk with them, investigate. Don't automatically jump to, if they say, no, not right now. I can't tell you, I have probably 3 people right now I've been talking to for maybe the past 4 days. And all of them said no. But now it's leading into more discussion. Like one of them is worried because she's pregnant and having contractions. Well, guess what? She still needs the nutrition part of it and is wanting the nutrition. So your conversations can lead. So don't cut people off just because they say no. Don't immediately jump to that conclusion. But I'll tell you, after you've talked to them a while and you really get the sense you're spinning your wheels, don't feel bad about saying this may not be the right time for you.
Yeah.
Or if it's not the right time, you don't have to make the assumption, say, if this isn't the right time for you, then I'm happy to follow up with you next month.
No, I think that's brilliant because I think the thing is you do have, that's the office hours. I get up every morning and I work from 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning and I do all my connections and my, all the funnel stuff, the first part of the funnel, all in the morning. And then check in my groups and do stuff. And then I have a second, at this point, because of the numbers I have, otherwise, I just want a disclaimer that you don't have to spend 2.5 hours a day, but that's what I'm doing right now because of my goals. I do a second power hour and a half in the afternoon. And that's when I do all my inviting, my follow-up, my messages. But my point is, I'm really trying to be more disciplined to be then when I'm done and I'm off. And then at night I check in my groups quickly. And then unless we have a call or something, I'm off. Setting those boundary lines, because that also is setting your challengers and your coaches up for success so that they don't think that they have to be doing this all day long. And you're way more intentional when you give yourself a time limit. You don't waste time. But yeah, so I think that's very awesome. Good tips for sure. Rebecca, thank you. The only other thing too, and then if anyone has any questions it's when someone has an objection, think of it this way. You want to know what the objection is because then you can make sure you're serving them where they're at instead of seeing it as a rejection. To me, when I find the objection, I get excited because I know their roadblock, and sometimes it's a big one and and you'll see it and realize this person's going to need more time and more relationship, or sometimes it's not, but when you learn not to take it personal, it's more like you're excited when you find out what their objection is, because then you know what kind of their fear is or their worry or, so it's actually a good thing when they tell you. So, you were at no at first too. Oh yeah. I think all of us, I told Michelle no, I don't even know how many times. Because my objection was a fear. I didn't want to drink a stupid shake, and I didn't want to be judged for drinking Shakeology, and I didn't want to be in a group and tell people what I ate, and I didn't want, I had it was insecurity. It was total.
Money either.
Yeah, but money was mainly a cover up. I was really just insecure. When you really want something, you'll find a way to afford it.
When Kelly finished her first challenge group, though, the excitement that she had by finishing something for the first time. And the really cool thing is when we learn this from people, so you learn that Kelly had never finished anything. She finished something for the first time, and that is what brought her joy and realized that she could do more. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking with someone recently who said, yeah, I struggle because I never finish anything. And I was able to say, oh, I totally understand. Let me tell you about my friend Kelly.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah. Do y'all have any other questions? No, I walked across stages at Summit. No, I missed it. I missed walking across. I walked out. Well, anyway, that's not a good. I walked. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. That was fun. Y'all cheered. That was cool. Y'all need to go to Summit. It was really fun. Do y'all have any other questions? Did that help? It makes sense. Okay, cool. Summit was awesome.
Yeah, no, this was a really good call, Kelly. I think that this is something that I think everybody needs to watch and learn, because it's the hard stuff. That's the part everyone wants to avoid, is inviting and meeting new people and getting out of our comfort zone. So here's
the way
the plan.
to unclog your funnel is to do the, it sounds like it's not a good time for you, and let go of the names of people not responding and invite the people that, like she talked about, the scary invites. That's like a laxative. And you will like clear your system. Sorry. My point is, that's what she says in the book. She says your funnel gets constipated. That's what happened to me last month. And that's what I did this month. I started clearing people off my invite list for a later time, by saying things like it's not a good time, and that's why I like that book, is she gives a lot of different, I learned from stories. So if you're a person that learns from stories, she'll say, and I talked to this person, and when I talked about that person, and that was helpful to me to hear. So breeds and codes are important. Constipation.
No, I was really saying, do not overcomplicate this business. I have a tendency to overcomplicate things in my life sometimes. Do not overcomplicate it. Keep it very simple. Yes. Amen, Michelle. Like, keep it simple. Like for me, I have to keep everybody in a spreadsheet. That's just how my brain works. But I also, right now, to make sure I'm meeting my numbers goals, they're written on my weekly calendar. But my main thing is through my spreadsheet. And it's like, don't ever, even though I have a tendency to want to start to change and overcomplicate it, it's like, really, guys, you don't have to do it that way. It's all about talking to people, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people overcomplicate it. And it's not. All it is I'm struggling with my weight. I'm struggling with my self-image. So I'm going to drink Shakeology. I'm going to work out. Oh, bam, I got results. Oh, girl, you're struggling. Oh, my gosh, let me give you my hand. Drink Shakeology, do workouts with me. Bam, she's got results. So she invites somebody. I mean, really, it's supposed to be that simple. But I don't know how we overcomplicate it.
Right. And here's the thing I would tell you. If you were wondering how many people should I be reaching out to, talk to your coach or reach out to Michelle and I, because if you have specific goals, it is good to have like I need to make this much, or I want to do this, because then we can say, well, then you need to reach out to this many people a week. Does that make sense? Like once you get to that point, it's important to know that, so that when she's talking about like sharing your journey on Facebook and reaching out, you know how many people you need to. So you're not like, well, how come I'm not? Because that's the one part that it is a business. So you have to think of that. So I know. I want to hear Ben's best stoner voice. Ben is going to be, anyway, that we're recording. He's going to be grandpa for my kids on Thursday. If you come, it's Grandparents' Day. Sorry, we're digressing. If we're not puking, yes. Thank you guys for being here. I was really excited. Oh, Danielle, you listened to a great Lunch and Learn last week. One of the great reminders was that it's not a commodity. We all have the same amount of hours every day. It's about prioritizing and planning. Yes, to make a difference. Yes. If you do nothing else, phase 1 is your funnel. Everything else can wait. Even like, you can miss checking the team page for a few days. You can postpone the wake up call for a few days. You can postpone training videos for a few days. Do phase 1 first. Like and that's why I do that for in the morning from 5:30 to 6:30 before my kids get up, because that way the rest of my day goes like today did. I know I did the most important thing, because even if I don't get to my messages for a day or two, it's not, the most important is that phase 1. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yay. Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, but the sad part is it's only one person. I'm like, I've reached out to one person.
That's okay. That's okay. You never know. I was Michelle's first person, kind of, I think. Like one person, like, you know what I'm saying? You got to start with one.
No, you weren't. And that's the thing to remember, guys. I had a handful of discount coaches who I thought were going to take off before Kelly signed up. So she wasn't the first, but she is the longest. I think you came before Mariana and Issa, right?
Well, I think Issa was in there when I was in there.
Okay, so Mariana Issa was a coach, Mariana was hers. But anyway, all came around. Like so that's why you can't get upset when you have people quit. It doesn't mean that you're not going to find that one person. You're looking for the diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
honestly, you just changed a life. That's like you changed eternity today. That's amazing. Like, hold on to that and think of that on the days you feel like you don't know who to talk to. That's the wins that you want to keep. You know what I mean? Like, someone posted about, like, they have to go buy, like Michelle shared today, one of her cousins talked about she has to go buy smaller shorts because her shorts are too big. Or like, those are, one of my challengers sent me a message today and I was like, those are the sprouts we have to totally protect because, and then as you fill your funnel, your momentum will pick up. Like it will, like I promise. And that's the consistency part that's so important.
And when you're inviting, guys, don't forget, something that really struck me while away on the weekend, because I ended up meeting one of my challengers for the first time, and she's going to sign up to coach. And she's got a problem called PKU. You ever have the PKU test on your babies when they're born? They always do a prick in the foot to do a PKU test. And so she can't have Shakeology. And so I was tempted to just kind of give her a half, I'll check on her, but she's not doing Shakeology. But then God convicted me and I started just really checking in with her. Well, now she's going to coach. She's got other friends who are doing it. But the one thing that really, really struck me was when Eileen got vulnerable and shared her story of losing her baby, and to see how many women wrapped their arms around her and let her know she wasn't alone. When you're reaching out and inviting, like Kelly said, think about what they're getting. And it could be changing eternity. You just look at the changes, Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, it definitely so, guys. And thank you. I know this was great. Like, there's check the weekly forecast. There's a lot of good information in there about different things. Check out on Thursday. We have a special announcement coming out about a couple things Michelle and I are not changing, but updating to streamline. Like, we're trying to streamline things for our team so that we have more time to be in phase one and with our families. So we're excited. So we'll be sharing that on Thursday. And, if you have questions, just reach out. Like, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to your coach, the team page. That's why we're here, So, but thank you again for taking the time to be here tonight. It means a lot. And you guys have a good night.